I teach 10th grade English. We have a largely world literature-based curriculum, though in level 3 we also do dabble in Western literature. It focuses on the overall theme of trying to understand an individual's role and place in society and how it is that they function within that society. And so we generally tend to look at how both Western Lit and non-Western Lit address these ideas of how an individual functions in society. We look at a lot of the similarities and, of course, the differences between literature across time and across cultures and how they address these very basic human issues. And then I also teach 12th grade. I teach 12th grade Level 1 English and 12th grade Humanities. They're both AP courses, and they both examine primarily, entirely, Western literature. Humanities is a chronologically organized course that starts in ancient Greece and works its way as far as we can possibly get. We usually end up somewhere in 20th century France, reading No Exit as the seniors exit from their high school career. And then the AP class is organized thematically.
When you make jokes.
Sorry, I know. It's probably the Odyssey. I think that the Odyssey is my favorite piece, and it comes very early in the year. If I were lost on a desert island, the Odyssey would be the book that I would choose to have. It just brings together so much basic human truth, and there's never something that I can't find a new idea in when I go to uncover it, even if it's something I've read many times.
Do you use any of the modern parallels like Cold Mountain?
I have not.
Brother, Where Art Thou?
A Brother, Where Art Thou I have used. Generally in Humanities we don't, simply because we're locked into a time schedule that is really rigorous, and we have a great amount of ground to cover. But when I teach the Odyssey to the 10th graders, and we watch A Brother, Where Art Thou and discuss it as a parallel text, break down the similarities and differences between the film and the poem, and consider how it translates, if it translates. It's sort of, I try to make sure they know that I don't have the answer, but I'd like to know if they think it translates to the modern perspective and the modern viewer. Largely, it's successful, I think. So that's definitely my favorite text to teach in Humanities. I think one of the most important things that I'm realizing at Haverford is that true connections across the curriculum can be made when they're not forced. Sometimes we don't do a particularly good job matching those things up, and other times it happens so organically and naturally that it's beautiful. And I hope that we continue to try to focus on making education make sense in a holistic way, if I can use that term. It's a bad word. That students understand that their learning should transcend just one class or another, but not feel like it's phony or forced or canned. Because that's how life is. Life isn't necessarily phony, but everything does eventually work its way back to connecting to each other. So I hope that's what we're giving, and it seems like what we're trying to move in that direction, to modern perspective and the modern viewer. Largely, it's successful, I think. So that's definitely my favorite text to teach in Humanities. With the 12-1 English, it's more thematically organized. So we start, we look at tragedy, we look at why it is that human beings would think about tragedy, why those ideas are important, and how the idea of pathos and suffering can ennoble us and lead us in some direction that can help us out. We move on through discussing human nature, dystopia, sort of like the logical conclusion when you end with a negative sense of what human nature is. Then you start wondering if society is functioning how it's supposed to, and what changes can or should be made. Maybe we're not going down the right path. Right now, I'm the sponsor of the Philosophical Society of Haverford, which is just a philosophy club. It really came about because the kids wanted to do it, and they were looking for a way to discuss the ideas that we were talking about in Humanities and AP English, and especially AP Euro with Macaulay. They wanted another place to sit down and to go into greater depth than we have time to do in class. I told them I would sponsor it as long as I could be more of a member than a facilitator. I wanted to read and learn and discuss with them, not be the sage on the stage ever. And they've really brought it. I mean, they give great texts every week that we read. I can just be a part of the discussion. I don't have to be the person with the answers, which I think is really what school's all about anyway. So it's a tremendous club. Thursday is 2:12.
Good. And what about Quizzo?
Quizzo.
I don't know if this will make it or not.
I mean, Quizzo is kind of a cultural phenomenon here in Haverford. You know, it started off with just a way of teachers getting together and having a good time and goofing off, but proving that they're still somewhat erudite, and therefore, you know, they can kick back and relax, and yet also still prove that they've been like accruing trivial knowledge over the course of their lifetime. It's like a payoff for all those times you spent reading something that nobody else was reading. And what I like the most about it is that it's sort of creeping into some of the ways that we even instruct. Like I know a lot of teachers use Quizzo as a vehicle to review certain types of information. Now, albeit it's difficult to go into tremendous depth when you're doing it, but it's a great way of reviewing really basic like recall types of things that you want kids to remember. And they enjoy it. And it's competitive.
Formative assessment.
It absolutely does.
For Quizzo teams, like the team
Yeah.
that grade is a quiz grade.
That's great. I mean, I use it the same way. I mean, I usually use it to review for quizzes, but nonetheless, it's fun, and it gives you a really quick cross-section of what everyone knows and what they don't know. Specifically, if you have a lot of time to make your questions how you want them, then you can really learn quite a bit about what people know and don't know from playing. Ohio University for undergrad in Athens, Ohio, and if any senior can prove to me that they apply there for undergrad, I'll give them extra credit if they have me.